Hello. Small test. Yeah. It's always a kind of, hard for me to follow when they speak other languages than English, so in the conferences and so on. But, still, I understand some words in Serbian, starting from Haide. It seems like we can solve every problem with the word Haide in Serbian. So, then, yeah, I mean, we can, communicate when we, didn't communicate on English. We can tell each other, right? Probably we will understand what we mean instantly. So, and as you know, I'm Oguz from Turkey. Right now, I work for Istanbul University. I mean, I'm not convenient with the, just staying in my position, but yeah. And I already have my PhD degree, actually. And I conduct studies on big data, data mining, and other part of electronic communication, actually. And I come from Turkey, the country which exports plenty of TV series to Balkans, but just no worries that, I mean, length of my speech won't be as long as TV series which were exported by Turkey. So, this is Ferdinand Magellan, and on the other hand, the other one is Yuri Gagarin. These are two persons they admire a lot. I mean, these are the historical figures I really like, because both of them actually are dealing with big data. So, but their methodologies are different, and their perspective is still quite innovative for their time, actually. When it comes to Ferdinand Magellan, I mean, he just, found a sponsor for himself, like PhD students do these days. We are just begging for the funding, so as you know. And at the end, he just circumnavigated the world with his, ship. And at the end, he found that the world is round. On the other hand, when it comes to Yuri Gagarin, he just went to space, and he just said Pahali and went, to space with the Vostok, and he just started to observe the world from the above. And he said that, hey, world is beautiful. I mean, I see Earth, it is so beautiful. And at the end, he's the first person who saw the Earth as a whole, actually. And at the end, these are the findings of actually big data analytics, because one of them just circumnavigated the world, and the other one just went to space and saw the Earth as a whole in order to tell it's beautiful, actually. And today, but their data collection methodologies were totally, hard way. It was quite manual. They have to go somewhere or travel around the world and so on. But today, as a result of digital transformation, the data is quite reachable. You can produce it and you can collect it. You can just, extract it from the social networks easily for your brand or for your research purposes or whatever. And even, from space satellites to, earthquake observation centers, everything is producing data, from the smartphones at your hand till, electronic doors of the shopping mall. Everybody collects data from simple things, actually. And today, data is reachable, and it's just opening a way to new revolution. I will just, talk about some simple things which are datafied and digitized, and afterwards, I will just talk about how this digital transformation causes data production. And at the end, I will mention about my research, which uses text mining, basically, and which aims to contribute how to, increase intangible brand assets, and they are the products of also big data. So this is a kind of patent which was filed in 2009, and at the end, this patent was filed by IBM. It's a smart surface which collects data from the ground. You are just covering your home floor with this digital surface. It has a kind of multi-touch systems and sensors, and it collects data from your steps. And you can define several characters, like this is my dog, this is my children, this is my elderly mother or father, and so on. And it recognizes every move of the persons which walks on it. And afterwards, for example, your children just entered the shower, and there is no move. The move is stopped. It just sent a kind of push notification to your phone, or an elderly man just lays on the ground and just not moving, it can call the ambulance for him. And or some unauthorized person just entered to your home, then it can call the police. But it just works with a kind of health monitoring system. But on the other hand, it just acts like a kind of surveillance system for your home, and it creates constant data. And even by walking on it, you are creating data. Actually, this is really huge thing for every kind of innovation in the branding world or marketing world, because you can use all this data for different purposes and so on. But of course, there is also some bad side of that thing. Then probably your flatmate will know that you were not alone on Saturday night, because there is a kind of unauthorized entrance to your home the surface can't recognize. I think it stops. Okay, and this is Houding, an invisible bike helmet which was developed in Sweden, and it just acts like a kind of airbag. It's just simple thing, and even digital transformation transformed a kind of basic thing in the life, a bike helmet, which is the most undigitized thing in your life. It must be hard, it must be, keeping your head safe, but on the other hand, they just created this helmet airbag, let's say, named as Houding. They just studied plenty of crashing data, bike accidents, and then they just found some kind of patterns and put some sensors, and you are putting this device on your map, like on the first photo in the presentation. You are putting it on your neck, and afterwards, when you crash to something, the sensors in it just recognizes the pattern and inflates in that way. If you, for example, fall down to your left side, then it just inflates from the left side and keep your head safe. And if you, crash harshly, then it tries to, secure your face and so on. And at the end, even the most manual thing in our life, a helmet, it's a thick and hard thing actually, just digitized. And on the other hand, there is Eden, which also just transforms something really basic, the soil that you walk on it, or you plant something on it. Actually, there are different kind of options. You are choosing one plant, and then it starts to measure all the features of the soil. All the data is conveyed to your phone via an application, and it says that this plant requires more water, this plant requires more sunlight, or you have to fertilize your soil because the quality of this soil just decreases. And consequently, it transforms everybody into a kind of professional gardener. Of course, as in the smart surface, it just maybe empowered the family connections, because since you know how to grow the plants, probably your family leave all the pots to your home while they are leaving to their annual holiday or so on. But at the end, this just transforms everything, but everything in the data, even the simple things. These days, the communication scientists are just discussing a new term named as digital dark age. So this is a kind of scenario of catastrophe, actually. This means that you are losing all the digital data in your life in a second, but it's not in a kind of micro-personal level. It's just related to macro level, like, all the institutions, all the establishments, all the persons and individuals just losing their data. And at the end, they are just discussing that in this scenario, what would happen actually. And even our concept of catastrophe actually changed as a result of digital transformation. We just experienced a kind of small example of that while MySpace is migrating its server, and it just lost 12 years worth music. I mean, maybe they were not really good musics, or some of them were good maybe, but it was still a kind of human history, and it was kept digitally, and while they are doing something technical, they lost 12 years worth music. They are gone. And just imagine that thing for the Wikipedia. I mean, probably, everybody just has been student here, and at the end, Wikipedia was source of information, a basic information at least, and it's like, if you lose everything on the Wikipedia, it's like digital form of burning of Alexandria library and so on. So, of course, the states are also quite into digital transformation. One of the states quite keen to transform itself digitally is Estonia, the country where I lived for a while for my researchers, and they are really astonishing, actually. They are the first country who just signed the first digital international interstate agreement. And this is revolutionary. This is some kind of Kadesh agreement of today, actually. And the president of Finland was in Helsinki, and president of Estonia was in Tallinn. And from their offices, they just signed an agreement on cooperation of the IT systems. And they just used a system named as X-Road. They are just putting a kind of stick to your to their laptop, and via this secure system, they are just conveying some encrypted signature to each other's office. And at the end, this is the first international digital agreement. But as I told you, there is an output of this digital transformation, and it is data. I mean, data which just, measured with zettabytes. Even, this is really interesting sentence, like, in the time it took you to read this sentence, Nata gathered approximately 1.73 gigabytes of data from their 100 currently active missions. And it's like, we just read this sentence somehow, and they just collected almost 2 gigabytes of data. And everything creates the data with this velocity and volume and variety. And it allows us to, this variety, this volume of data, and this velocity of data actually allow us to, explore human mind better. Of course, as communication researchers or communication professionals, this will just enlighten our road to, make better decisions. So I will just start to give examples from the micro perspective to macro perspective. What can you do with this in this digital world with the big data, actually? This is a kind of micro example, and actually I just created this word tree, and it is like if you are a person whose analytical intelligence is far more better than working, than his emotional intelligence, then you start to leave some burdens in your romantic life. And at the end, I just decided to merge this analytical intelligence part and emotional intelligence part in my life, because during the time I was passing through in a kind of time in my relationship to, I have to solve the stuff and so on. And at the end, I collected 20th century's poems, and collected all the poems. And I just checked out how they define love. So, because it's a kind of hard concept to define easily. And I just then analyzed the frequency of the words and so on. And, at the end, with the help of JavaScript, I just created this word tree. And I just saw that love is defined in different perspectives, and also there were some stuff like, love doesn't do this, doesn't happen, or so on, or doesn't consist of gazing, blah, blah, blah. And at the end, I just transformed all of them into really beautiful text messages. So, and it worked, actually. It worked. So it was really useful when it comes to defining love in most logical way, because I didn't leave emotional ambivalency in this case, because I was thinking that the thing that I was doing was quite logic, actually. But in the meantime, it was emotional. So, and the other thing is the societies, how you perceive societies. So, or even sometimes societies can't define the breaking point of itself. And at this point, we can also use big data. So in this example, which was developed, experimented by Stefan Davidovits, actually, he used Ngram to check United States history. Ngram is a tool which was provided by Google. and you can check a specific word's frequency on the books written during the history. And at the end, he just checked the United States are word, and as you see, it's a plural. And on the other hand, there is the United States is. It's a singular form of United States. And he just drew this black line in the graphic. And the line indicates the American Civil War. It's breaking point of the history of United States, actually, because people started to, recognize themselves as a one country after American Civil War. But before that, they were just perceiving themselves as coalition of states, actually. Because of that, they were using the United States are, the plural form of it. But after American Civil War, they just started to use the United States is, and the word the United States in singular form started to appear on the books after the Civil War. And on the other hand, I really like Davidovich's experiments because it just merges some correlations and data analytics with really daily things. And he just checked the unemployment rates of United States, and he just correlated these rates with some search queries on the Google, the keywords, I mean. He just checked that when the unemployment increased, which kind of search of which kind of words increased in the Google. And at the end, he just revealed that people are not looking for the keywords like jobs or job centers or new jobs, but what can they search for? Do you have a guess for it? Is there any guess? What do they looking for instead of searching jobs or new jobs kind of words? But yeah, this is a kind of optimist approach actually, but they are probably trying to forget their pain. They are just look for porn websites actually, and when their unemployment rate is increased, also search for this kind of websites are increasing on the Google. So this is the statistics of the United States. And on the other hand, the Facebook just deployed his research team to conduct a study on cat people and dog people because, it's like with a kind of survey, you can't acquire this information. Also, I mean, with a kind of in-depth interview, also you can't reach this kind of data to analyze what cat people do, what dog people do. But during the process of using Facebook, people are just sharing their secrets with a kind of digital platform. And it's honest data. I mean, everyone from researchers to marketers must use it, but in a kind of ethical way, of course. But on the other hand, it can just provide really deep insights about the people. So, for example, the cat people are more likely to be single. Actually, I was thinking that it was a kind of stereotype, but when it is supported with the data, I mean, yeah, this is a kind of honest data. And on the other hand, dog people are more outgoing, or, dog people are more likely to express pride, but cat people are more like, they are just showing variety of feelings. And it's like a cat, basically. I mean, it also just shows variety of feelings. And you can't acquire this information with a kind of conventional research methodology. You need honest data for that thing. And Netflix, as we know, it also uses the big data analytics in order to engage with the members of the website, because only thing that they can earn money is, membership. People have to engage with the content, and on the other hand, they had to keep paying their membership bills and so on. And Netflix is crunching huge amount of data, which contains plenty of information like when did you stop a TV series, when did you left, or after stopping the series, did you return to watch it back, or which kind of shows did you like, and they are just clustering this data. And based on the previous activities, there are plenty of data collected from the members. And at the end, it just started to show some cover photos to people. For a specific TV show, it just shows different cover photos. It means that user A and user B sees different cover photos for the TV series, for the same TV series. And it just keeps people just engaging with the content. And for me, the big data is just equal to, geographical explorations today, because, of course, we do not use some sail ships like Magellan or the spaceships like Yuri Gagarin. But at the end, we are dealing with huge amount of data with innovative methodologies like they did, actually. And in branding context, it provides people a lot. I mean, it enlightens. At the first step, it allows you to define your target audience, actually. And on the other hand, you can just cluster them atomically to the minimal groups, and you can target them specifically with specific messages. And on the other hand, as in the United States example, actually, the big data and text mining shows us what is the breaking point of the brands when it comes to conveying their messages. And of course, message is really important, but how should you pack them into a kind of sentence and so on? And big data and text analytics shows a lot when it comes to that thing. Actually, since 1 year, I have been working on the stylistic patterns of the social media content, and also I have a kind of research partner from South Africa, and I have presented 2 conference papers about this research till now, and it just shows that there are patterns on the Facebook messages and Twitter messages. So during the research, we just proposed that if there is interaction, this is first step, and afterwards engagement will come. And after engagement, actually, the sale or brand equity, I mean the targeted purpose, actually aimed purpose, will be realized. But at this point, what is the effect of style of a message on a kind of success or interaction? So we accepted interaction as a kind of success ratio of a tweet or Facebook message, and then start to search for really specific details, like plenty of metadata collected, like when did they post it and how many times did they post it. And on the other hand, we just checked that, for example, the photos, do persons smile in the photos? Do they laugh in the photos, or do they pose seriously in the photos? And for specific brands and for specific well-known Twitter accounts, we just identified that there is a pattern. For example, for a specific person, we found out that people are just expecting from this person to be serious or a small smile on his face. When he starts to laugh, then it starts to decrease, actually. And on the other hand, there is a pattern between photo posts and video posts. Of course, it validates that video is just increasing. It just receives plenty of resharing, and sharing a content is far more better engagement rate for us than a kind of just liking a post. And on Facebook posts, actually, on here you will just see that these are black dots here, just indicates to videos, and these are red dots here, just indicates to photos. And when you share these things on photos, it shows that for that brand we just research for, people are just engaging with video content only. They are just resharing it, and they are just engaging with that content. I mean, they are telling that they can also express themselves with this content, and they are just engaging more and sharing, resharing the video. But when it comes to photos, people are just liking them, and no further interaction goes on. Only minimal interactions are realized on the page when they share a kind of photo page. They didn't reshare them so intensely like they did in the video. On the other hand, even though people are not thinking that, okay, I mean, on Twitter, while we are creating a content, we can write up to 280 characters. But do they request, do your target audience request this thing from you? So for that, you have to understand what's the attention gap of your target audience. And attention gap is quite related to character count of a message, actually. And at this point, we just identified that for that brand, we conducted research on when it comes to Facebook posts, only 180 characters, up to 100 characters, people are keep themselves engaged with the content. And afterwards, people are just starts to, lose their attention to your content, and they don't engage, and you can't receive interaction and so on. But on the other hand, when it comes to Twitter, it's even shorter. We can see some kind of nature of the social network just influences the thing. And they are just, people are just engaging with the messages which are up to 150 characters, that's all, even shorter. On the other hand, the nature of the social networks that you are sharing content on influencing your success, your brand success. And it is like, it depends on the brand actually. Some brands can share, of course, longer messages and texts, but some of them should share the shorter form of it. And at the end, how should you identify them? When you check the content marketing blogs, for example, all of them are telling different things on different blogs. And on the other hand, they are just telling that you should post for 5 times, you should post for 3 times. I mean, there are a kind of data cacophony or information cacophony on that thing. You have to create some unique solutions for your brand page, actually. And we just identified that. By the way, we just collected something like 5 years long data from Facebook. This is not a kind of data which is a data set consists of 1 year old data or 2 years old data. It's just a kind of long term data. And we found out that it's the content best work when you post it 2 times in a day. But on the other hand, when it comes to Twitter, people are just requesting some kind of frequent updates from the brand. And in this case, that brand can share posts up to 4 times, actually. And it's also related to the nature of the social network, of course. The Facebook is something for the peers, people who knows each other, but Twitter is just for short updates and acquiring information about the agenda and so on. And as you can see, actually, big data is not only efficient for the sale purposes, because this is quite common concept, actually. People are just trying to use big data for just sale purposes, for hard sale, and big data is also useful for creating a language for your brand or creating content, actually. Content marketing is just skyrocketed in the past years, and it just contributed a lot into intangible brand assets of the brands and institutions. And it enables you to be heard because, all the algorithms of the social networks are just using the interactions as indicator, actually. And if you use some kind of, long messages, and then, when they didn't get some kind of interaction, they won't be seen, basically. But big data just, helps you to overcome this burden. So, and this was the end of my presentation, and thank you for listening, and I would be more than happy, actually. Yeah? Any questions? Okay.
Da li možda neko ima neko pitanje? Mislim da ovo je bila jako interesantna tema. Jeste. Thank you, Mr. Kus. This was really inspiring. Thank you for sharing with us this information.